Hey everybody, welcome back to Tenza Motorsports. Big project today. We are finally going to be building the workbench that I've been talking about for a while. This will be moved and essentially we'll be building it into my Husky box. So it'll be kind of like built as one unit. Before we get into that, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, like if you enjoy this type of content. Also make sure to check us out on Instagram. We do giveaways and all you have to do to be part of those giveaways is be following us. That's where we pull our winners from, is our follow list. This is my work area. This is the only area I've got in the garage, and so I want to maximize this space. This box here, much like most roller carts, the top opens. And so I don't really want to be using this as horizontal workspace, because if I put stuff on it like it is right now, then you can't get inside of it. This right here is overlapping, so half that or more is a waste. This will be going against the wall on the other side of my wife's race car, and this will be a top. It'll come down, be a couple legs here, and then just at a camera view here, there is a leftover concrete foundation piece. I'm just gonna have the leg come up to that and then have the bench hang over probably about 6 inches or so, and I'll show that off here in just a moment. As you can see behind me, cars are draped off because we're gonna be cutting wood, so I don't wanna get everything completely covered in dust. But yeah, really excited about this. This will give me a lot of horizontal space to work with. It'll give me a shelf, so all the cases that I've got of tools and kits and things like that will be down there, up here, and I've got another little cabinet just over there. And I think between the two cabinets up above and the storage down here and my workbench and then this guy here, that should be a lot of storage. A lot of my toolbox doesn't actually have tools in it. It's just stuff, and I don't really care for that. I'm kind of really excited to get my toolbox as a tool box and not just holding like parts and hardware and things like that. Only about 4 of my drawers are just straight tools. One other thing I want to mention right before we get started is this looks a little bit different. These lights here are not actually designed to be used like this, but I want to point it out before anybody asks, well, what the heck you got going on up here? These are outside lights. They are the dimmable LEDs that you would put on the outside of a building, outside of a house, and then as the sun comes up and goes down, these are actually variable, and so they'll slowly get brighter and then slowly get dimmer. These came from GGJIA, and I actually did a video on their high bay, their really thin light, and I'll be using that in the garage at some point. These, same thing, came from them, and I'm going to be doing a video on them later on, but basically, just kind of cut the story short, they have a cutoff point, and I've got them at an angle, and so when you're standing here, the light is almost like a curtain, and that way I don't have to worry about it getting in my eyes. I hate that you put a light up here, and you turn it on, and it's like, I'd almost rather have the light off, because now it's getting in my eyes, and that's way more annoying than, you know, just having a slightly dark workbench. So I'll turn these on for you real quick, just show you how bright these are. Yeah, in person, this is like, boom, it pops, and I'm not sure how well it's coming through on camera, but I've been more than happy with these. So I'll do a video on those later on my channel, but yeah, I'm really excited for this. Getting some upgrades done, getting some foundational work here, gonna be doing a lot of work on the garage, sheetrock, painting the floor, and just kind of infrastructure. Get my garage ready to go so that when I'm able to buy fun car stuff, we're able to do that, and then I'm not going, well, hey, I'm gonna put this really expensive piece on my car, but my garage looks like garbage. I really should be doing the sheetrock or painting, you know, that kind of stuff. So this is one of those first steps to getting my garage ready to go. So the top of this comes off. I've already got it unbolted. There's just a couple screws underneath. I think there's like 6 or 8 of them. And we'll remove the drawers. I'll show you guys how to remove the drawers. We'll do that now, and how to remove this top, and then we'll go from there. Depending on how wide your drawers are on your toolbox, this might be a 2-person job, but if you see here, there's these little clips, and all you'll do is push up on this side, and then the one on the other side, I believe, is opposite. So you'll push up here, then down on the other one, and you just pull the drawers straight towards you. Very simple. When you go to put them back in, you want to make sure that both of these rails here are actually being slightly pushed inward. Sometimes they'll fight you going on, so you want to make sure you kind of push these in just a little bit. And then once you've got a couple of these removed, let me grab a light and we'll go look underneath there. This topper is only being held on by a couple screws, and I believe, here, I'll point one out here. There, that little tiny one, you just barely see it back there. That had a screw through it, and they're more of a machine screw. They're not a wood screw, because there's these little inserts. So not hard to get out at all. I was able to do that with my little Craftsman electric screwdriver, which doesn't have a lot of torque. They came right out. Once we're to this point where we can remove this topper, if we need to, we can drill holes and I can just leave the screw down in them. I can go underneath and I can mark them to make sure that, because we have the screws coming up from the bottom. If you wanted to build something like this yourself, this is about, I don't know, 80 bucks worth of lumber with the screws, and that box was 450 bucks. If you didn't have the box and you just wanted to build a workbench and then have that bottom shelf in the middle and then you'd have room underneath, I would expect you to spend, with the screws, the hardware, and all of this, maybe another like 30 bucks. 26 by 8 foot bench for about $110. So it's really not that expensive. If you're willing to build your own workbench, this is definitely the way to go. And this is just Home Depot lumber. Went through and checked to make sure there wasn't a ton of knots, there was no cracks or bends, and we actually got really lucky. The 2x4s actually look really nice. And if you want to do it cheaper, there's plenty of other places that'll sell you lumber like this for cheaper than Home Depot. This is more of a convenience charge to go to Home Depot or Lowe's. But yeah, enough chit chat. Let's get going. I've been waiting to do this for a long time. Been talking about this on the channel for months. So before we get started, huge thanks to my dad who came and helped me out all day long. I would have done kind of like a step-by-step, but we were in a rush and I really needed to get this done. So as you can see here, we're getting the boards ready to go, and we find out that these ones are actually too short. They are the stud length ones, so they are actually designed to be slightly shorter, so they fit right into the frame of the wall. So I think they ended up being like 7 feet 8 inches or whatever it ended up being, instead of 8 feet exactly. So we had to go back to Home Depot. After we got all that done, we were able to start cutting and getting things fitted. Mocking it up was super easy and everything was fitting exactly how I was hoping it would. We decided to do a skirt around the whole thing. This would hide the legs and make it so that it just looks a lot nicer and gives us a little bit more stability and more places to hide screws, things like that. The legs did have to be off the end a little bit, so you can actually see it looks like it comes up short, but it's actually designed to be like that. Really not that much to it. We used two 2x4s together to do the legs instead of a 4x4. That way we only had to buy two types of boards, 2x6 and 2x4s. Also forgive the camera quality here towards the end. I don't know what was going on with my camera settings, but kind of that black wavy stuff. Anyways, yeah, it just came together really well. My dad ended up having to leave. We had worked on it all day long, and I built this bottom section, the shelf, all by myself, had to design that all by myself. I'm pretty good with woodworking. I don't have a ton of experience in it, but once I kind of get rolling and going, I do pretty well on my own and don't have to have like a ton of help. It's obviously easier to have a buddy with you. After getting that bottom shelf built and test fitting it, which I was very happy with, fit exactly how I wanted it to, and it sat really level. The legs are a little bit goofy, so if you ever had to put this on a flat surface, I might have to shim the legs, but not a big deal. The top going on is my favorite part, means that we're getting really close to being done. I did use a white topper for it. They do get dirty, so eventually I'll have to replace this, but they cost like 12 bucks. It's really not that big of a deal, but I really like the way it turned out. All right, here is the workbench essentially done. I'm gonna put the drawers back in. I'm still cleaning up. Made a pretty big mess cutting wood and hopefully covering the cars and everything. Has kept some of the garage clean, but this is the final product and I am super happy with it. There are a few things that I could change. You know, this didn't suck up as well as I wanted it to, and technically speaking, I probably should have used a smaller piece so it looks like a transition from the toolbox to the, but little things like that don't really bother me too much. I'm really happy with this. I did do a white melding top on it. That is not attached yet. I did cut it slightly large because I always end up damaging it. I cut it large and I'm going to be bringing my DA. I have a Milwaukee DA. I'll be bringing that home and I'll run the DA along the back. So I'll basically square it up in the front. I put where I cut in the back, so if there's any imperfections, it's on the back of the bench. And then down the sides here, I'll show you what this ends up looking like. So two 2x6s, 2x4, and then two more 2x6s. Again, those are screwed up through the bottom here. And that worked out really well. I was very happy with how easy this was and the access that this box gave me after removing the drawers. Could have done 2x12s. I'm kind of glad we didn't because the chop saw we've got, I think it's like a 7-inch blade, and so it's not very big, and it was a little bit difficult to cut some of these bigger pieces. But you could use 2x12s if you were doing this size. 2x12s have gone up in price, so I think it's actually slightly cheaper to do it this way. I did want to maximize the space down here. I also put a board in the back, and that way, you know, you're not like losing things out the back or the sides of the bench. Down here, the fitment was a little bit weird, but I think I made the best out of it. So you got a 2x6, 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 and then two 2x4s on the end. This one here overhangs just a little bit, and I don't mind that at all as long as it's not sticking out past this here. And then these 2x6s have just a little gap right there. So that's how it ended up being. I probably, if I could redo this, I would only change a very few amount of things. I think I probably would have put that shelf just a little bit lower. I didn't want it too low because then you can't use it, but I don't want it too high because then you can't use this. So I didn't quite split the difference. It's not in the middle, but I think if I did this again, I'd probably put that shelf just a little bit lower, like maybe like 2 inches. And then at some point, I'll be mounting a vise here on the end. This as it sits, again, can be done for around 70, 80 bucks. And if you don't do a topper, you can take another 12 bucks off the price of that. I purchased 6 2x6s and 9 2x4s, and I ended up having 1 complete 2x4 left over. Anyways, there it is. I'll get the drawers put in it. I'll get some final shots of this completely done. But I really hope everybody enjoyed watching. And if you have any comments or questions down in the comment section below, this is definitely doable. This is my first workbench. Now, I did have my dad, as you saw throughout the video. He was here helping me out, but honestly, there was a lot of brainstorming. Things he knows and things I've learned really helped us build this as a team. And even if you've never built anything in your entire life, having a buddy with you is always better, because you'll do something and it's like, oh man, I'll try to make this work. And then your buddy will go, oh, why don't you just put this on it? Like, oh, I didn't even think of that. Just brainstorming is an amazing tool when you're building custom stuff like this. So if you build a workbench, find a buddy, buy him some drinks, and get something like this done. Build it yourself. Great stuff. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see everybody in the next video. And I'm very excited to use this on the channel. You'll be seeing a lot of my workbench.
Bam!